So, they just found something strange buried on Oak Island. Emma Culligan thinks it might be huge. Basically, they were digging, found a weird wooden board that seemed out of place. Who goes to that much trouble to hide a board? And what's underneath? Word is, it's such a big deal that the US president sent in the military and shut down the whole island. Most would shrug it off, just old wood, right? But Rick and the crew, they know better. Wood doesn't just appear that far down. That little piece of wood could mean something big. This is Oak Island, after all. No such thing as just anything around there. Especially after all the treasure hunters who've come and gone. Never to be seen again. They found something under the board that's bigger than anyone was expecting. And Emma Culligan got the call, because stuff like this is right up her alley. They wanted her opinion on what they were seeing, asking if it was part of something built, maybe even the supposed flood tunnel that leads to the money pit. You know, the thing that everyone's after. As they dug, it only got stranger. That one board turned into two. Then a beam, then a concrete mix. Emma noted that it was missing modern materials. Then they noticed concrete. Concrete just doesn't go there. Unless someone put it there to block something they didn't want anyone else to find. It wasn't just any kind of concrete either. Tests showed it had Portland cement, probably from Quebec, somewhere between the 1920s and 70s. That's a clue that it wasn't just nature, somebody put it there on purpose. Now think about it. Who hauls cement all the way out to a muddy, supposedly cursed island? Either someone desperate to hide something or someone who found something and wanted to keep it safe. And get this, there was also a wall of rocks lined up nice and neat. Rocks don't just do that by themselves. Buried under that, more signs of a tunnel or some kind of chamber. Rick was probably thinking the same thing we all are. If this is the flood tunnel the old maps talk about, they might have proof that something's been hidden there from the start. After all the digging, cash, and everything else, they might just be on to something real. And get this thing isn't just sitting around for anyone to find. It's over 30 foot down. Someone spent weeks, maybe months, building something they didn't want anyone to get to. Back in the war room, Emma explained her finding. The concrete was old, but the sand and gravel were local, Nova Scotia kind of local. That meant whoever did it was close by, knew the area, and had the tools and the time. It lines up with what the restos tried to do back in the 60s. They were sure they were getting close to figuring it out. Maybe what they found now is what the restos left behind. But here's the weird part. If the restos were sealing off the tunnel, what were they trying to hide? Or, if they knew exactly where the tunnel was, why didn't they say anything after that? Did someone stop them? Did they find what they were looking for? Every clue they were finding was pointing to the same thing. Something's here, and somebody didn't want anyone else to find it. But the concrete pointed to something bigger than anyone thought. A tunnel that just won't stay hidden. After tons of dead ends, you'd think they'd be used to false hope. But this time, it feels different. The pieces were starting to fall into place. The tunnel exists. Someone put that concrete there on purpose. The old maps match up. It's just obvious. They weren't jumping or cheering, the kind of team to overreact. But if you looked closely, their eyes said it all. They were ready. They weren't quitting now. Not when the signs were so clear. Why would someone go through all this trouble to dig deep in the ground, build tunnels, deal with flooding, then try and cover it all up with traps, beams, rocks, and cement? That takes planning, time, and a lot of cash. You don't do all that unless something valuable is hidden there. And when you look at all that work, it's obvious. Something real is here. Something you can hold. Something heavy. Maybe gold, maybe jewels, maybe both. Here's what's strange. If the Resto family found a tunnel and sealed it off, why not dig deeper? What happened down there that made them quit? Were they warned off? Maybe by someone who didn't want the truth out, or did they give up without realizing how close they were? Emma didn't say a lot, but one thing was clear. She'd pinned down the time. Sometime between 1920 and 1970, someone left behind a path that wasn't dirt, or wood, or stone, but cement. And that cement path could lead straight to something nobody was expecting. As they got closer, they needed someone who understood science and pastimes from Japan to buried gold. Emma Culligan is that person. Her starts weren't planned, but she just chose whatever made sense. She grew up in Japan, learning Japanese before English. She didn't start learning English until she was 15. She went to Dalhousie University for engineering, but it didn't fit. So she switched to Memorial University of Newfoundland, studying archaeology too. She didn't just show up for class there. She worked as a research assistant, studying real items and learning as she went. She didn't sit around. She got her hands dirty. She worked at a zoo in Calgary, dealing with people and answering questions. She has patience for what she does. Then, an internship at the Nova Scotia Department of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal. She experienced how tough it can get in the public sector. Later, as a material technician at AMC Foster Wheeler, she caught any problems in materials testing and checking the quality of things. In 2018, she got a job at Frontier SUBC, where she could put her engineering and archaeology abilities at use together, taking over underwater sites, examining items that had been underwater for all of history. She led excavations and studied metal items. Then, she joined The Curse of Oak Island, a hit show on the History Channel, joining it in its 10th season, to study the metal in from old items, so she could then tell the scientists what it was made of and where it might have come from. Using tools like X-ray fluorescence and X-ray diffraction, people like her could determine what artifacts were made of and determine whether they were anything of importance. One time, she looked at a lead object and gave her thoughts on where it came from. People liked her for that because she talked to them like a normal person would. In the meantime, Emma imagined creating a worldwide database of artifacts where archaeologists and scientists could track items worldwide, such as metals or pottery. Imagine being able to track how a piece of iron went from Canada to Europe. She's been working with places like the Fortress of Louisbourg, Acadia University, and the Black Loyalist Heritage Society, not just mentioning ideas. Emma's close to her mother, Shirley Hardin. Family matters to her, as does her heritage, because growing up in Japan had a significant impact on how she sees the world. Looking at her, it's easy to talk about how intelligent she is, but the real story is in how she deals with life, by doing something well, learning, and challenging herself. She didn't want the show. She got picked because of her abilities, and viewers thought of her as the real deal. Her work was honest and true.